welcome to Physical Science. My name is Katie Levenick, and I am one of your student science teachers this year.
And I'm Logan Clote. I'm a student teacher from Central Washington University with a part of their STEM teaching program.
So Logan will be with us, Mr. Clote will be with us through winter break, and then I will be the teacher for the remainder of the year. We're really excited to have him. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we're really enjoying your students. So we thought we'd talk about a few things about the class and what you can expect or what your student can expect. So first of all, this is physical science. And so we do a semester of physics and we do a semester of chemistry. And so in physics right now, we've already learned about the metric system. We're working on motion right now. We're going to move into forces and Newton's laws. We're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about waves, sound waves, light waves, and a lot of detail about that. So a lot of interesting and fun topics in physics. Our second semester, which starts in the end of January, we're going to be talking chemistry. And so periodic table, elements, chemical bonding, matter, how things work. We do nuclear chemistry, which is a really fun unit. All different types of topics sort of related to chemistry. So the goal is that your students might be really excited to one day take a full year chemistry course or a full year physics course based on what they learn in this class. Part of our goal or our efforts in making your kids excited and really enjoying science is we do a lot of labs and collaboration opportunities in this class. Students are hands-on, using equipment, measuring things, seeing things, discovering them for their own. One big thing about my style as a teacher is I don't want to tell them the answer and then them try to confirm it during a lab. I want them to discover it during a lab whenever possible. And so students are in assigned seats, especially with COVID protocols, where they work with the people at their table and we mix it up. They'll work with the person across from them or next to them or diagonal whenever possible. We avoid fours and do twos whenever possible to keep them really engaged and involved. And then we switch seats regularly as well. And so they're going to be gaining those skills of collaboration, communication, working with other people. However, it is important to note that they are assessed on their own individual knowledge of stuff. So while we have that group effort, students are all individually responsible for the learning that comes from it.
And then we do our best to keep our students updated with what to expect the next week or even the next day. And that all takes part on Google Classroom. We update our daily announcements and our important links for our students. That's one of the topics right at the top of the classwork page. And so if they miss class or they miss an extended period of time, that should be the first place that they check, because that's what we update every day during our prep period to make sure students know what we did in class that day. But it's also where we keep everything for them to expect to come to class the next day and learn about. So
yeah, so there they can find links to answer keys. They can find an extra copy of a worksheet if they lost it. They can find the slideshow that we did or a copy of our notes. So if they tend to misplace valuable resources, that can be a really helpful tool for them. Another thing that's really important and probably something different that your student hasn't dealt with before is the way that we grade in this class. Instead of grading a homework worksheet like might be done traditionally, I grade something called a homework quiz. And instead of grading a lab itself, we grade the graphs oftentimes that are produced from the labs, and then we'll have a lab quiz that again is based on the learning that happened during that lab. So for instance, let's say on a Monday, we learn about how to calculate speed, and then we do a worksheet to practice calculating speed. On Tuesday, we'll come back to class and students will check their answers to see if they got it right. On Wednesday, we'll do a brief review at the start of class, and then they'll take a 5-question quiz based on that worksheet. So if they did the learning and understood what was going on, they're going to do really well on the quiz. We do a similar thing for labs. So we're doing a lot of labs right now, and a student might be working through a lab sheet with their partner, with their table group, answering a bunch of questions, doing calculations, analyzing data. That's all really good practice. But one thing that we know is that if we do a group lab, so we always try to keep it in pairs when possible, kids might not be fully engaged, they might not be fully understanding. And so we really want to motivate them to engage in that learning and to be an active participant. And so we don't grade the lab worksheet because that can be copied from somebody else or they don't really understand it. And we want them to really learn and have had a chance and enough time to learn. And so we grade lab quizzes, which is a 5-question quiz based on the lab. If they were involved and engaged and listening to the kind of wrap up of the lab, they've had some feedback, then they're showing us that deeper understanding in a quiz. And so we do the quizzes on Chromebooks. They're usually 5 multiple choice questions, and then the score goes into the grade book out of 5. Now, you might be thinking, oh no, my kid doesn't quiz very well, or that, The cool thing is we offer retakes. So if a student doesn't like their score they got on the quiz, they may take a retake of that quiz the next week. It'll be similar questions, but not identical. Maybe we change the numbers or the units or the scenario a little bit. And they can do a retake. But we don't just let them do a retake without a reteach, because if they need a little bit more time to master the skill, we want to make sure that they don't need a little bit more instruction as well. So before we do any retakes, we always will reteach, review, give them a little bit of time to practice, and then they can take that retake. And what we found is that students really improve their score with this system. And what more importantly happens is I have a student coming up to me, instead of saying, hey, I need to turn in that worksheet from when I was absent, they say, hey, I didn't do well on that quiz on speed because I was absent. Can you help me understand speed so I can do better? And that kind of discussion where kids are focused on their learning and less on the task completion has really improved their understanding. And in doing so, I've actually found that test scores have improved. So just to repeat though, all kids will take lab quizzes and homework quizzes based on that learning. If they do not pass, so if they get a 0, a 1, or a 2 out of 5, that's a failing grade, they must retake it the next week. And we do that during class time. If they get a 3 or a 4 out of 5 and they want to improve their score, they retake it the next week as well. And so we have that opportunity. It's required for those who are not showing a passing score, and it's encouraged for everybody else. So that leads us to tests. We have tests at the end of units. Tests, we do not have a retake policy or an option because we've had multiple quizzes in that unit where they've gotten a chance to retake and we've improved their knowledge. We've probably intervened a lot of times to make sure they're doing better with that curriculum before they got to the test. And every time we have a test, that will never be a surprise to them because we always have a review sheet, we always have a review game, and we always have a practice test. And we'll do those in class the 3 days before the test. So a student will never be able to say, I had no idea we had a test, because they would have had 3 days where we are preparing for that test to make sure that they are all good before we take the real test, which therefore doesn't require a retake. So that leads us to talking about Skyward.
Yeah, so with all the lab quizzes and homework quizzes that students take, we really try to get their feedback to them pretty quickly. And where that comes from is Skyward. And so usually a day or two in advance, when we know we're going to put an assessment in, we'll have that already up there ungraded. So that way students know what new grade is going to be showing up in the grade book. But that's also for parents too, to see what assessments their students have coming up and they could possibly help them study for. But most of our studying and review will come during class. And so we're also very open to reaching out from parents about emailing us about grades, something their students struggling with, or maybe even something going on in class that you think we should be aware of. So we're really open to feedback and hearing from all of you. If you ever want to reach out, we're more than happy to.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that. Like, we're super open to your emails. Excuse me. But we're super open to those emails. So if you ever even want to just check and say, hey, I was just wondering how so-and-so's doing this week, we would love to receive those kinds of emails and get back to you. We don't always have time to remember to initiate emails, but we love responding. So please reach out that way. Excuse me again. The last thing we wanted to mention is we use the Remind app, and we've invited your students to join. And the way you join is you send a text message, and the message is at LEVSCI. And you send it to this 5-digit phone number, 81010. So if you would like to join, you are encouraged to do so as well. We've invited all students to do it. And this is just an app where if we want to send a message to kids, it'll just push out to all cell phones. We use it for science jokes. We use it to remind kids to wear closed-toed shoes during chemistry labs. Hey, don't forget to bring your Chromebook tomorrow for something really important. Or, hey, remember how you needed to be working on that thing for homework? Don't forget it. So if you want to get those kinds of reminders, you are also welcome to join our text remind. I don't actually get phone numbers. I just get people registered into the class. And then I use my computer to type a message that gets sent out. So encourage you to stay in the loop if you would like to that way, and let us know if there's anything we can do. But we're super excited. We're off to a great start. Your students are awesome. And we're really looking forward to the rest of the year. Thanks.